Welcome, everybody. This is episode 87 of Podcast On, brought to you by Yarniversity by Riversity Yarns with your hosts, Barb and Cynthia.
Hey everybody, it's so nice to be back. It's hard to believe it's been a whole month already, right?
hmm hmm
This is
It has,
March and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, because a lot has happened this month.
a
Uh,
lot's happened. Yeah.
I went away, for example, and like left you on your own for a few
The
weeks.
entire month. It seemed like you were gone for a whole month. I know it was only 4 weeks, but
Three.
it
I'm
felt
glad.
like longer.
I'm glad you missed me.
I did miss you, yeah. And I was gone the month before that. I'm home now. It's nice to be home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
And
the weather's been a little crazy though, hasn't it?
it has. While I was gone, we got a big snowfall in Edmonton. And while you were gone, we got some chilly weather. And now that you're back, we've got a huge, kind of cold snap. It's been really chilly and a lot of snow and wind.
Yeah.
The drifts along my garage door, I couldn't even get into our garage. It was crazy.
Yeah,
But
and
we
so
needed snow, didn't we?
I'm sorry.
We needed the snow, I think.
We
So
we
dry.
we absolutely do, and I'm not complaining about it because,
No,
also it just gives you a chance to pull out your snow pants if you haven't yet.
exactly, and your
Either.
UGG boots. You only get to wear those for a few months every year.
hmm but Barb, we're gonna talk a little bit about what we've been up to, and
Yeah,
yeah, we went on we you went on a vacation last month, and I went on a vacation sort of mid-month to mid-month, and I'm back now. Um, but while you were on vacation, I wondered and if you had continued to work on your winter wrap, the solstice project that we kind of both started by handmaiden. So, have you got a progress report for us, Barb?
yeah. Well, I couldn't take it with me because it was too big. Same as you. You couldn't take yours with you. So as soon as I got home, I picked it back up again. I'm not completely done. I'm making it a little bit bigger, I think, then.
Well, we've got
Um,
till March 20th as well, right?
right.
Mhm.
That's right. Yeah. But here, I've got mine right here. I'll just show you.
Ooh, that's
So this is
gorgeous.
it. And I'm going to hold it up close so you can see there's this garter stitch, double garter stitch pattern it's called. And what it does, Cynthia, is it creates a really thick, cushy fabric.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm loving it. It's so nice because you're changing colors every day. Sometimes you have the same color, but most of the time you're changing and using two colors in each row. It's like knitting ferrule, a little bit of stranding, and it's really lots of fun. What about you?
Yeah. Well, so the idea for those of you who might not know, Handmaiden put together this kit of gorgeous yarns using their Eden base, and Barbara and I each bought a kit, and it's called the Winter Wrap. And every day you knit a row based on color that's linked up to a temperature. So
Mhm.
we also bought an extra skein of yarn for taking vacation. So when you were on vacation, the weather might be warmer than it is at home. So we had this vacation yarn. So before I left to go on my trip, I knit ahead. And I knit all my vacation days so that when I came back, I wouldn't have so much to catch up on. And I decided to crochet mine instead of knit mine. And
Yeah.
so here's what mine looks like.
Oh gosh, that's pretty.
Do you see in the middle, there's
Is it
this
the pink?
blue and pink.
Yes.
I had to use some of the blue. I didn't have enough of the, oh, Echo
Yeah, there was
Beach.
Echo
Echo
Beach.
Echo Beach was the name of the colorway that we were going to use for holidays. So
Right.
I interspersed it. I went on a cruise. So on my sea days, I used this blue, which I think is called Clouds, and then I used Echo Beach for when we were on the on land. And then I ran out of blue, so I started to use some other colors in here. And now you can see I'm back. I'm back in the land of the cold, and so it's changed. Now,
Nice.
I may run out of yarn before March 20th. Crochet takes a bit more yarn than knitting does, and I
Mhm.
tried to make it the same length as yours. I didn't make my fringe. My fringe isn't as beautiful as yours. I'll come back and fill it in later with all my leftover bits. I'm having so much fun with this crochet pattern, and it's just all working out because March is National Crochet Month.
Isn't that a coincidence?
So I added to my mannequin here for everyone. This is a baby blanket, but I've got it wrapped around my mannequin like a wrap. This is called the Vintage Baby Blanket. It's a pattern by Church Mouse Yarns and Tea, and I've used Rowan sock yarn in this one. Sometimes
It's a
alternating
beauty.
colors, sometimes just letting the self-striping feature of the yarn do its job. So crochet is so much fun. And if you're interested in the patterning that I used for this winter wrap, I'll put a link into the show notes below where to my Ravelry page where I have the instructions written in the notes on my Ravelry project page. But
Great. I think it comes with the kit too. There's more, right? Like if you wanted to go to Handmaiden's website, I think they're coming out with a second installation now. So
yeah,
you can keep going all year long doing different temperature blankets, or
well, they
you
might
could
have
add
different
on.
projects, right? Right?
Yeah.
But this yarn is so beautiful. It's a worsted weight, 80% merino, 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere. I think it's 81% superwash merino, 9% nylon. So it's durable, it's soft, and it's super cozy.
Mhm.
So congratulations, Barb. Are you caught up? Are you at the, or do you
Yeah.
have some?
I've actually knit extra rows, and I dipped in to my own stash of Eden yarn because I too ran out of colors, like this really pretty turquoisey blue. And so I found some of my stash and I added a row in here and a row there, and just to give me more. But look at the big, dark section where it was really, really chilly.
It's too bad, isn't it? Yeah.
We definitely do have 4 seasons here, Cynthia. There's no doubt about it.
There's
And
no doubt about it. Yeah,
winter's a big, it's like 6 months of the 12.
it's true. It's true. As I reached over to grab another work in progress, and these are granny squares.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know why I'm making granny squares?
Yes, but you tell me because I don't wanna spoil your thunder. Look at this.
Right?
Those
Well,
are
our
beautiful.
friend Karen Scarlett, who you can see in podcast episode 86, our one just before this. Um, she has a project going on for the town of Innisfail where they're going to create a heritage blanket out of granny squares. And so she's put out a call for granny square makers to send her granny squares. And we'll put a mailing address in the show notes below. If you want the
Perfect.
details, watch episode 86 and you'll get it all. But isn't this fun?
Oh my gosh, look at that. Now is that what sort of yarn you're using? Is it fingering weight or heavier?
So what I do is I just throw all my leftover balls into a basket and I use like a 5 millimeter crochet hook. This one's all worsted weight, but some of them may be double stranded. You know, this
Okay.
one happens to be worsted weight as well, but if I have a fingering weight yarn, I'll just double strand it and use it together. Or I might just change my hook and make different size squares because it doesn't matter how big they are, how small they are. Um, They should be weather resistant, and some of my yarns, like this one, has a bit of alpaca in it, which may not be as weather resistant, but I like the framing of the color. So
Yeah.
it's totally up to you what yarns you use. Yeah.
You could make a really big granny square, or you could make little tiny ones. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. I just need some help weaving in the ends, Barb. If I bring these to coffee, maybe with a tapestry needle, maybe
I'd be happy to help you. I'll show you my new technique for crocheting those ends in.
oh, okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds very good. How about you, Barb? Have you got any works in progress that you'd like to share? Any more works in progress?
More works in progress. Let me see. I have to just go pull up my note here.
I
See if
heard
I wrote
I
it
heard
down.
you had plans to make a sweater.
Okay, yes. So a couple months back, well, actually last summer, I started thinking about this sweater that I wanted to make. I have this yarn from Biscotte. It's called Granola. And this is the perfect summer yarn. That's why I want to get on this right away. It's 70 merino, 30% hemp. And it does have a very, very lovely cottony feel to it. Even has a little bit of a halo and some, sort of like little strands of hemp that come out when you wind the yarn and pop to the surface when you make the fabric. So I've got all my gauge swatches done. I know what size I'm going to use for my needle and how many stitches to cast on for the size of my pattern. Got that all figured out. I played with some lace too because I had a thought about maybe putting a lace bottom on this top,
Mm.
but I'm not sure that I'm going to do that because I want to put a mosaic pattern in the yoke.
Oh,
So
nice.
here's my swatch for that. Now, this pattern is off. Uh, don't judge me for the pattern because I was just playing with it and I got off track. It's actually going to look like this. This is my inspiration. This
That's
is called
so
the chains, the mosaic pattern called chains, from the book Knitting All Around by Wendy Bernard.
Oh,
Do you remember these stitch dictionaries that Wendy did that we used to have in the store? I
yes.
never got any of them, but I found it at the public library in
Oh,
White. And so a lot of the squares that I did for the slip stitch class were based on uh, that book from Wendy and
right.
a few others. So I'm going to use that chain pattern to put it into the boat part of this boat neck sweater.
That sounds beautiful. Now,
Yeah,
Barb, for those who might not know, let's just talk really quickly about you said if you missed the slip stitch class. So we're talking here about your machine knitting
that's
classes where
right.
you provide tutorials every month on different
Yep.
techniques. So you just finished one on slip stitch knitting on your machine, and it looks like you're wearing something that's slippy stitched.
Yes, yes, I am. This is cowl is called the beech nut. It's a pattern from Knit It Now, which is a company that does YouTube tutorials on how to use your machine and how to machine knit. And I highly recommend it. I've belonged to it for a couple of years now, and they're just great resources. They also have templates. So if you want to do sweaters, you just do your gauge swatch, figure out how many stitches and rows you want to do, pop your size that you want to make for your sweater and your style into a template and put in your gauge, and bingo bango, out pops the pattern for you. So it's great. You don't have to, you know, do a lot of math. This is done for you. And in my opinion, worth every penny of the subscription price, which is a little dear, but well worth it. So I go to Knit It Now a lot to get help and support. And it's really a cool sort of construction. Now, I've used it and I put in slip stitch patterns, but essentially you start right here. This is knit about 35 stitches straight up, a panel all the way up. And when you've got that done, then you go and you pick up stitches along here and you knit it this way. So it gives you two different directions, and it's another sort of fun take on an easy folded poncho. And then the back is just, I'll just show it to you. It's just a little, it's more of a, it's a narrower back. So it fits really nice under a coat or over top of different garments. I did this on my machine on a very large tension because I used two super soft alpaca yarns. One was a Shibui yarn, the dark gray, and this is some local alpaca that I found, alpaca and wool blend, at a Fibre festival. Super warm and cozy.
Really nice, really nice. And I love those slip stitch patterns you got in there.
Aren't they fun? Yeah.
Yeah, it really adds a lot of dynamic and interest to the project. So
Yeah.
was Beech Nut project with all those designs, or was it more like a plain one that you?
A plain one. In fact, they recommend, striped yarn or something that with a slow variegation. I didn't have any of that, so I thought, "Oh, I can make my own."
You certainly can.
Yeah. A great canvas too for playing with different patterns, like this is the cube stitch that I used in my easy folded poncho, and then, different sections of stripes, and then making the cubes a little bit larger, more stripes. I think this one was, something called a vertical stripe pattern that I had. I've just been having so much fun, Cynthia. Here's stripes that are a little bit wider. So just a real play on patterning to sort of like a sampler.
Just going to pop in and mention that, if you missed any of Barb's machine knitting classes, they are listed on the website, and you can still purchase a copy of the recording, as well as an extensive handout. I've been helping Barb edit her handouts, and they are super. Um, they are super. They're detailed, but also concise. Like that. Yeah, they're brilliant. So those are available on the website, and again, we'll put a link into the show notes down below. Yeah,
Yeah. I was just
perfect.
going to show you this one too. My slipstick stitch class was based, uh, or it was sort of a challenge given to me by one of my friends who said, "Do you think we could do Andrea Mowry's The Shift pattern on our knitting machine?" I said, "I don't know, but I'll look into it." And so I looked into it, and sure enough, we can do this. This is a simple slip stitch pattern. It's like slip one, knit one, and then in the next section it's slip two, knit two. But Andrea's got a really unique construction that she has. And so figuring out all the little dynamics to go along with that was took me about 2 weeks. But it works, and here's the sample that I did up on my machine.
That's really
And I give you some tips in the class on how you might want to modify the pattern to knit it easier on the knitting machine, less work, and get a similar result. Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful. And
I have newfound love for slip stitch, Cynthia. It's really pretty.
well, speaking of slip stitches, there's another big thing happening for you and me, and that's that in April, we're taking our Wool, Wine, and Wheels excursion trip from Edmonton to Jasper, and that trip sold out. But there's something happening that's kind of exciting that you can participate in with us, and that's that we've asked Carolyn Sommerfeld from Ancient Arts Yarn to dye us an exclusive retreat colorway. Now,
Yes.
it's exclusive in the sense that this is a color that she doesn't have in her normal collection, and it's a color specifically named for the destination that we're going to. So it's called Jasper, and she's dyed it on her Super Sock NATO yarn base, which is a 150-gram skein with over 500 meters per skein. So this is like a skein and a half of a super soft 80% Italian manufactured merino, 20% nylon. You could use it for socks, but it's gorgeous for all kinds of things. And you can also purchase one or more of these skeins of yarn. So Barb and I we've each picked a project to work on with this special yarn. And I think, Barb, your project that you picked might include some slip stitches. Is that correct?
Um,
Or maybe it just looks like that.
it just looks like that. Yeah, but thank you. What a great explanation you gave of that yarn. Oh my gosh. It is Italian merino. It's, I think we had the same base in our hockey yarn, and there are people who will knit with nothing but socknado now because it's just the most beautiful springy merino that you can get. And it's a heavy, I don't think you mentioned the weight. It's a heavy fingering weight. So it's not, a really light sock yarn. It's got body to it.
Yeah.
And it could almost, I think, be sort of sport. But
Out of the
I'm going to
video
need
here.
your help this afternoon when we meet up because look, look at this, Cynthia. I'll help you weave in your ends if you help me with this.
Oh my goodness.
This is the skein that was so nicely twisted that I was going to send to Stephanie.
Uh-huh.
I need you to make it pretty for me because right now it's all woo. But this is the skein that Carolyn dyed. She had to get into the dye pots herself to make us this beautiful like section because we wanted something that had kind of like a solid, so you could do some patterning and different things
Yeah.
with it. And also because she wanted to put in some foresty green and these beautiful speckles here that were supposed to be reminiscent of all the flowers, the wild flower life around Jasper.
So I've chosen, here's the yarn here. I've chosen a yarn called, sorry, I've chosen a pattern called the Wraparound, which is a pattern that Stephanie Pearl McPhee designed for us. And it uses garter stitch. And you can see how beautiful the colors are playing in these garter stitch panels. There's three more panels to come. You start with one garter stitch panel like this, and then the second one is actually right here, and it's on a different number of stitches. And then I'm working the first half of a kind of like a mitered square in a way. This uses wraps and turns to create a
Wow.
triangle. And now I'm going to fill in this space as I make my way back. But I think this kind of shows you just how many colors are in that skein of yarn.
Yes. Yeah. And I love the idea that, you get one section where you have about 16 to 20 stitches all in one color. Isn't that fun to
Yeah.
get to? And it just keeps your interest. I didn't want to put it down.
So show us your shawl, Barb.
Yeah, I'm doing a wrap called the Road Trip, and this is one of Caroline's patterns. And it has you start out at this corner, and when you get to that section, that's the 16 stitches, you do you reverse it, and you do if you're on the stockinette side, you purl, and you get these
Oh,
ridges where those sections are. And after you've done 3 of them or 4 of them, I don't think it really matters. Then you do a section where you take that dark yarn and you knit 1 yarn over, knit 1 yarn over, and
oh,
then you yarn
cool.
over twice in the middle, and then go back to 1. And it creates these elongated, I guess, well, they're drop stitches, aren't they? Dropped stitches in the pattern here, there, and everywhere.
That is so cool, Barb.
It really keeps your interest.
Yeah, yeah. And then without giving too much away, we'll maybe say that Carolyn, she tells you how to deal with the edges. as well to create a
Yeah,
nice edge.
yeah.
Yeah,
This is a really nice edge, and that's in the pattern. It's easy to do and easy to remember. Yeah.
perfect. So
So maybe we'll have
we'll
these done by April, do you think?
well, I'm sure we will.
Love to be able to wear mine.
But it doesn't matter because you can work on them on the retreat too. That the important thing is that this colorway is, it's a one of a kind. So if you would like to purchase some of this yarn, we'll put a link directly to the yarn in the show notes below. And Barb, I don't know if you have a copy of it there, but Carolyn had given us some ideas for complementary colors to pair up with it.
I'm glad you asked because I just remembered that and pulled this out of the basket. So that other skein was the 150-gram one, the really jumbo one. This one is 100-gram, and this is her regular put up of Socknado. She has a colorway called a Midnight Clear, and this is the most beautiful navy. It's got a real variation of shades in it from dark to lighter, denim-y almost, and a real rich sort of nautical, almost navy blue. And you can also buy it in little minis. So if she recommends in her shawl pattern that you can take a little mini like this and finish your shawl off with 1 or 2 rows, or you can do a nice big border, which I think I might do, in a solid navy color just to. You could also crochet this all the way around your piece too.
That's right. We're not limited to knitting projects with this yarn. So Barb and I have picked two patterns that, are kind of meaningful to us. One is from Carolyn, who is the dyer for the yarn, and one is by Stephanie, who is the guest on our Wool, Wine, and Wheels retreat. And so that's how we came to pick our patterns. But if you wanted to buy a skein of this yarn, you, of course, are not limited to either of those two patterns. That's great. Thanks so
Yeah.
much, Barb. That's beautiful. Carolyn does such a beautiful job. I don't know if we mentioned this is Ancient Arts Fibre. It's a yarn dyer and retail shop in Calgary, Alberta. And Carolyn and Dan, who own the company, are friends of ours and have dyed our hat trick and touchdown lines of yarn for us for several years. They now carry those lines on that Super Sock NATO base. So if you want any of those NHL inspired colors, they're your folks to go to. Barb,
Yes.
we should probably transition over to finished objects. Let's take a look at, have you finished anything this month? I
Oh,
I have one thing. Do you want me to maybe I'll start off and then you
yeah.
can come back in? Okay. So I went on a trip and I was trying to decide what yarn to pack for my trip. You know how we go through this, how much will fit into my luggage thing. And so I packed this book. It's called New Directions in Sock Knitting by Anne Budd. And you can see that I picked a few patterns in it. My thinking was that let me pick a pattern that requires me to concentrate so I don't get nervous on the plane. And I had a few days at sea, and I thought I would get bored if I just had a vanilla sock. So
Mhm.
I was successful in finishing one pair of socks. I had decided I took 3 skeins of yarn. I thought, "I'm gonna be gone for, 3 weeks. I can make 3 pairs of socks, no problem."
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway, I finished one pair of socks. These are called U-Turn. They're by a designer called General Hogbuffer, and I love the name of them. So I used yarn from Gauge Dye Works for this. That's where you get the striping, the wide stripes. But these socks begin at the back. You start, like they're called U-turn because you start back here and you make this back leg panel, and you can see how the yarn is bent around, making a U-turn in the back. And then you cast on some stitches up here and you join them together cleverly. And then once you've got the gusset done, The gusset is done in one piece. There's no picking up of stitches. Then you're back to your regular cuff down sock. So I love these. I would totally knit them again. I need to make some modifications. They're a little too long for my leg because I have those shapely calves, right? And so they're a little tight up at the top, but I can scrunch them down. It's no problem. So I'd make them a little bit shorter on my next one. The fit is really, really good. And then for the second pair of socks, I tried two patterns before I kind of settled on the one that I was going to do. So I've got one of my second sock done. Isn't this pretty?
Oh, so pretty.
Yeah.
Cables.
Yeah. So you start off at the top, you're just working, working down here with these cables and a little design in the middle, or sorry, just a little space in the middle. And then you split the cables to work the gusset at the same time as you're working the leg. So there's no, again, no picking up of stitches. The heel flap goes all the way down to the base of the heel, and then the heel turn and um, reducing the stitches along the edge of the gusset is done at the same time. And you stop this cable, and this cable continues down to the toe, well, almost to the toe. On the other side, it's just all plain rib stitches. So,
Another a brilliant sock design.
so this pattern is called Cleave, Cleave by Hunter Hammersen. And I used a yarn called Big Alice Dyes from a yarn festival
Yes,
that we went to years ago.
yes, I have a skein of that too. I just used mine for a pair of Queen Vicky's wristlets. Has it got silk in it?
Yes, yes.
Isn't it beautiful yarn?
It is a beautiful yarn, and it's thicker as well. And again, like with this sock, I cast on a bigger size because my first sock was a little snug. And so this one's a little bit loose on my feet, but I'm really glad to have the silk in there. It's warm and it's durable. And so I'll let you know how my sock journey goes. So that's kind of a finished object and a whip that I snuck in there.
Nice. Good for you. So you're gonna do a pair every month like Stephanie's doing? You gonna keep
No.
going? No.
No, no, but I do have some more vacation days planned this summer, and so I think I might just go back to my plan, take one skein of yarn and my book and keep going on it because I do feel like I've learned I like to knit socks and I like to knit vanilla socks for sure, especially when you're watching television. But I think there's some value in practicing new projects on socks. And the
Mhm,
whole idea of a book that has she brings in different designers to do socks from the cuff down, from the toe up, and around the sock. So there's some really interesting concepts in there, and I think I'm just going to continue to chip away at it, but I'm not
mhm.
making any, kind of resolutions about it.
I caught the sock bug as well. I've had the sock bug for a while because, again, I tried to do socks on my knitting machine because I thought, "Oh, they're not gonna turn out well." But I was surprised. I found, again, at Knit It Now, they have, a book that you can buy from a very old machine knitter who kind of spent all the time to figure out a different construction, and so I did that too, and I've been making socks after socks after socks. These are, I'll show you a couple pairs. This is out of our hockey-inspired yarn called Hat Trick, and it's Socknado too, and this is this heavy merino that I was talking to you about. Super soft. So on my socks, I start out by doing the cuff, and I do them in a rib. I do this flat on my machine, and then there's a small seam right here. So the top is flat. Then I take half the stitches, put them on hold, the front half, and I do the back half of the sock. So the heel turn, and the sole. And because I've got this interesting construction where the top instep is done on half the stitches. And because I work this way, come down to the toe and then come back up along here like Cynthia does. And I sew this seam as I go on the machine. But because it's done this way, it allowed me to put reinforcing thread in the bottom of the sock. I'm always wearing, most of the time, down here on my sock or my heel. And so this pair has reinforcing thread that starts right here at the heel and runs all the way down here to the toe. I've got another pair here, just a plain sort of boot sock. Again, the reinforcing thread, what is in this case is mohair. I used mohair and silk because I thought the properties are great. The mohair, will give it a nice feel. The silk helps with the stability. And I love this. These are beautifully warm, sort of slipper socks.
The patterning looks beautiful, Barb, and I'm guessing that you use the same base yarn all the way through that pair. You just added, so the color difference is just the addition of the mohair silk.
That's right. This is Cascade Heritage sock that I found in White Rock in Surrey, BC, at the local yarn shop there. And it's super soft. It's really a soft yarn, and it's running all the way through. And then I used a Malabrigo merino silk for the heel and toe, added it to the Cascade Heritage. And then I've been playing. I've got some that are just little roll tops, so more of a little boot sock. This is our Eden yarn. It's merino cashmere nylon, same yarn that we're using for our winter wrap, and just odds and ends that I had in my collection, and I put them into stripes and just had some fun playing around with it. These are super soft. I wear these ones to bed once in a while if my feet are cold. And I love just the little roll top.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a lot of socks.
a lot of socks. I'm just going to show you one more. This is another pair that I just got off the needles. They haven't been blocked yet. But the thing that's really cool about this construction on my machine is that you knit the top of the sock and then the heel and the foot and the toe, come back up and do the instep. And then right here, you do a Kitchener graft. So you're grafting the instep to the leg. It works perfect on the machine. The graft comes out so nice and clean.
Ah,
You can
and
kind of see it right here.
and we're working on a video where you demonstrate how to do that, correct?
Mm.
Yeah. So
Put that up on our YouTube channel, right?
yeah, we will. So if you subscribe, here's a good deal. If you subscribe to our channel, you'll get notification when we post new videos, and you'll get a notification when that one's ready to view.
Yeah. That Kitchener graft is so cool, Cynthia. I could just see using it for all sorts of things. So different construction methods. Who said there was one way to do anything, right?
So again, if folks want to know more about knitting socks on a knitting machine, you have a 2-hour tutorial on our website that you can purchase for the recording, and again, a beautifully illustrated handout. And you can be making socks like Barb is as well on your flatbed knitting machine. You don't need something that knits in the round, right, Barb?
That's right. No. Yeah, and I think you could knit them by hand too. Cynthia has that general, what is it, Hogbuster?
General Hogbuffer.
Hogbuffer pattern that you could get that looks like this construction is kind of the same. So yeah,
Mhm.
treat yourself to a pattern or a class and learn how to do something new with your socks.
So, We have some interesting things to tell you about, some upcoming events here at Yarniversity. And also, Barb and I spent some time this month talking to two other friends of ours, Sarah Ross and Maria Lougheed. They are two women who have organized the Rose City Fibre Festival, which is a fibre festival taking place in April in Camrose, Alberta. So we invite you to stay on once we're done the main part or the first part of our podcast. We have this beautiful interview which is illustrated with photos and contact information and stuff like that from Sarah and Maria. And we think that you should hang out with us and see what's coming up in Camrose, Alberta. If you are local to Alberta or local to the border between Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, or even
Montana.
Montana, you might want to drive up for the day or spend the weekend in Camrose and take in the Rose City Fibre Festival. They're going to have some super interesting workshops, and we're going to tell you all about them. So stay on to the end of the podcast where we'll have that interview for you. There's
Mhm.
also some really fun things coming up at your university this month, and we wanted to give you a heads up on some things. We've had some classes recently, Barb, that have sold out, and I've been getting lots of emails and phone calls from folks who are saying, "Yeah, can you squeeze me in, or when will you offer that one again?" And so we want you to know that if you see something on the website that is interesting to you, you should sign up because we do like to space out our workshops in order to offer you the widest variety of people and topics. So the next one that's coming up right away is the top-down set-in sleeve workshop with Ann Budd. And when this podcast airs, there may only be one seat left in it. I wore a top-down set-in sleeve sweater to inspire you today, and I'm going to be working on a sweater in class along with you, as will Ann Budd. So this is a six-session, multi-session class with Ann where you'll start from scratch and work your way through a top-down set-in sleeve sweater along with Ann. That's really good. And then we've got two Fiberside chats coming up this month. The first one is going to be on March 17th, and that's with Summer Lee. She's got a book. She's going to be talking about the magic of sock knitting. So she's released a new book with sock designs, and each of those designs is going to teach you a new technique. So just like we were talking about before, if you want to really expand your knitting skills, but you don't want to just do swatches. Socks or even mittens are a great place, a canvas to explore different techniques. So she'll be the featured guest on March 17th, which is also St. Patrick's Day. And what better way to spend a Sunday than hanging out with Summer Lee and talking about knitting socks? On March 21st, we've got a really cool class with Kate Atherley. It's about options for knitting in the round. She's
You
going
sorry, Cynthia, you mentioned that there were 2 Fiberside chats in March.
Oh, right, I was gonna get to the other one kind of like in chronological order, but
Oh, okay.
let me skip ahead.
The
So, Mary Martin is coming on April the 7th, and her topic is Discover Fusion and Fission Knitting. These are two innovative techniques Mary has developed using slip stitches and holding yarns in a marl to create stunning reversible colorwork fabrics. I think this is definitely not one to miss. What would you say, Barb?
Yes,
Yeah.
I gotta go look her up, find out more about her.
Fiberside chats are, like they're 1 hour chats with designers. Oh, like,
Authors, teachers,
right.
celebrities.
hmm Makers from all over the world, and they are not to be missed. Do you have one, Barb, that maybe sticks out in your mind for you?
Well, I do love Stephen West. He's just so colorful. But I think the thing that's really cool about it is that there's this connection of, 40 yarn shops or more. I don't know how many it is now, but they keep adding more. But all these yarn shop owners have such a wealth of knowledge about who teaches a really great class or who's got this new technique or who's written this book. And so this collaboration of all these yarn shop owners create an amazing lineup of instructors and teachers and lecturers.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
absolutely. Yeah. Warning, you may find yourself buying things during the session.
Yeah.
So last Sunday, they invited Carrie Lord to come, and she's the crochet author of Edward's Menagerie and a whole series of books with crocheted animals and now flowers. And so while I was listening to her, I was, online ordering a book because they're so
Because you
adorable.
can. I know. Isn't it great? It's like being able to get the best experience walking into a yarn shop in 1 hour. You get these little tidbits of yeah.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And so back to the workshop schedule, we've
Mhm.
got Kate Atherley coming on March 21st, and she's going to teach a class called DPNs, Magic Loop, and Two Circulars, Options for Working in the Round. So if you've been curious about how many ways are there to work small circumferences in the round, this is your opportunity to explore that. Barb,
We just got asked about that, Cynthia, on our makers meetup because I think someone was doing like gnomes or something, small where it was hard and they were struggling with their flexi flips. Will Kate
yes.
cover something like that?
She doesn't have flexi flips in her the title of it, but working with two circulars is similar to working with flexi flips. So we can
Yeah.
always ask her for sure what her thoughts and ideas and opinions are about that. The same week, or later on in that week, you and I are teaching a class called Magic Loop Mittens. And in this class, we're going to be talking about how to make a pair of mittens using the magic loop technique. And we'll be working on small mittens, but the pattern that we're going to gift you in class includes 8 sizes of mitten.
Wow. Look at
So
that. Holy, so you can make mittens for every single person in your family.
you
Straight
certainly Yep, you certainly can. No, in class, we're going to focus on the smallest mitten because this is
yeah.
a 3-hour class, and we'll run out of time if we were to. We just won't have time to work on it. But our classes are recorded, and they're available to you for up to 14 days after the session. Also, uh, with our classes, we'll offer you lots of support between classes. So if you finish the class or you end up watching the recording because you couldn't make the timing of the class, don't worry about it. We're here for you. With
Mhm.
all of our classes, we offer all kinds of behind the scenes support. So Barb and I
Oh,
are going to be doing that class on March 28th.
and this is one that you've designed from beginning to end. So this is your pattern. You're going to help us, get really comfortable with Magic Loop and all at the same time while making a mitten. So kudos. Congratulations. I'm so excited that we've got another new class to offer in our portfolio and one that's led by you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I misspoke. This class, the Magic Loop Mittens, is happening on March 23rd. And Barb is correct. I will talk to you about all my favorite things about mittens. So we'll talk about, I'm going to show you a little trick for making sure there's no hole behind the thumb. And
I
I'll talk to
always
you
get a hole there.
I'll talk to you about my favorite mitten top as well, one that doesn't kind of torque off to the side, or it does, but it doesn't matter. So that's all good. Um, but yeah, the objective of the class is to be very comfortable doing magic loop. And I've become quite a fan of magic loop. Those U-turn socks that I did, they were all done magic loop style. So
There
uh,
you go.
good technique to know, right?
Yes, yeah. And then if you don't like magic loop, then Kate will show you how to, switch out and do DPNs or other methods. Cynthia, tell us though, I'm anxious to hear you talk about the Crochet for Knitters class. We taught this once at Rowan, but now you've got it back.
Yeah, we're gonna do this class, and again, you and I are kind of working on this one together because we it's really nice to have support during class. You know, to have somebody who is fielding questions while someone else is demonstrating. So this is a class where we're going to learn how to. It's designed for knitters. No crocheting required. No previous crochet knowledge required is what I should say, because you are going to be crocheting during the session. We're going to start with a little blank swatch. There's some homework before class, so we'll start with a blank swatch, and then we're going to do some things like create stripes on it, create multicolored stripes or bi-colored stripes. We're going to cast off with a crochet hook and experiment with picot edging. We're going to create a fold in your work and a hem so you can hem it.
Wow.
And then buttonholes. We're going to do little
Oh my
buttonholes
gosh.
with a crochet hook. So
So
we've had
this is like, a class that's filled with different things that as a knitter you can use a crochet hook for, right? And you don't need any experience really in knowing how to crochet except maybe to do a slip
well,
chain.
we're gonna start off by me showing you how to do a chain stitch in crochet.
Okay.
So really,
Okay.
the only prerequisite knowledge you need to come with is how to make a slip knot. And then we're going to show you how to do everything else. Um, a lot of the techniques are they don't really require you to even know how to do a chain stitch. It's more like stick your hook through here, draw this loop up and pull it through the loop on your hook. Like
Mhm.
it's pretty step by step. But yeah, we've had some really good feedback from folks who have taken the class with us, and they've really enjoyed it. So we're kind of excited to be able to bring this back and do it again.
That's great. I love the idea too about steeking, like using crochet to fold back that steek and you show how to, neatly seam that in. That's a nice.
Yeah. Well, what was really fun is that one of the participants in our class came to our makers meetup, which we have every Monday. Friends come and join us for the makers meetup on Mondays. All the information's in the show notes down below. And she showed us how she used that technique to fold back a sweater that was too large. And so it was a cardigan, sorry. And so she used it to create a hem on either side of the cardigan opening that was a couple of inches in. So if you turn 2 inches in on this side and 2 inches in on this side, you've reduced one half of your sweater at least by 4 inches. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it
And
gives you,
I think that's the greatest compliment a teacher can have is when their student comes back and says to you, look how I used what you taught me how to do.
right? I think that's really cool. Now, one of the reasons why we're able to do this, Barb, is because we've taken so many classes with so many wonderful instructors. And so I'm really happy that we've got Kate Atherley coming back on April the 4th. And her class on that day is called Expert Tips and Best Methods. And so this is another class. It's delivered more in a lecture style, but you're going to learn from, an expert all those little tips and tricks of the trade that are going to make your knitting so much better. So that's
So all different topics. It could be anything. That's cool.
Mhm. And then speaking of experts, Barb, I want to hand over the spotlight to you because you've got a class coming up on April the 7th. It's scheduled a little bit after the Fibre side chat with Mary Martin. And this one is another machine knitters tutorial, and you're focusing on charts, I believe. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Charts. Like a lot of machine knitters get inspiration from hand knitting patterns and quite often, like almost every week, I'll get an email saying, I saw this pattern and I'd like to be able to knit it on my machine. Can I do it? And so I thought, I'm going to run a class that shares with people what I go through when I ask that question. So when I say, can I do this on my machine? There's a couple of basic things that you have to do, questions you have to ask yourself to determine, is it worth it? Or am I better off sticking to a hand knit pattern? Are there, maybe tricks that I can do to change something around a little bit so that it's easier to do on the machine? Because not every hand knit pattern can be knit on the machine. I mean, a lot of them, I'd say, 90% of them can, but some that are really complex, it requires some workarounds. And so that's what I'm going to go through with everyone. And we're going to pick some easy patterns, but I'll show you how I've converted them to put them on my machine.
Well,
And
that's
a lot of it through charting, which it took me a while to figure out how to do. So I'm going to share that with everybody.
That sounds so nice. That's kind of like the kind of class that we all need, right? I think we all struggle with that, which is the idea of taking something that you like and applying it in a slightly different way. As knitters or crocheters, we come across the same thing too. If you got a chart that's written for in the round, can you knit it flat and vice
Yeah,
versa?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think even if you weren't a machine knitter, coming out to this class and just getting some hints about how you might tackle a question like that would be a good thing. But for machine knitters, I think this is really important to sort of think about how you can adapt some of your favorite hand knitting designs into machine knitting perspective.
Yes. And Cynthia, the more that I spend, the more time I spend on machine knitting, the more I'm convinced that machine knitting and hand knitting are like this. You know, you learn things in hand knitting that you can take over to machine and vice versa. The whole idea about knitting a sock in pieces, I almost believe probably came from the machine world, right? And maybe the hand knitters picked up on it and started. So, I think there are overlaps. I sat in Bristol Ivy's class on how to chart out your own geeky little word. And from that class, discovered that I could take hand knitting charts and make amazing patterns with them just by adding extra rows or flipping the chart. So I think this is it's all together. You never learn too much.
You don't, and I think now is the time, right? If you've got the time, and if you can't attend a workshop, because this happens a lot, maybe 25% sometimes of
Yeah,
the people who've registered for a class can't make it to the date or time. So it's recorded, you can watch it later, but it's really super important for you to schedule that time for you to
yeah,
do that.
yeah,
And that's one of the reasons why it's important for us to put a deadline on that, because if we don't, when
yeah,
do you make that time for yourself? But it's really important.
yeah. Yeah, you have to schedule it in just like everything else, appointments for self-care, for, visiting with friends, for learning something new.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you, Barb. I think we've come to the end of our podcast this month, and we want you to stay on because we're going to have this lovely, delightful interview with Maria and Sarah for you about the Rose City Fibre Festival. Oh, Barb, what you got there?
I just want to share this because at the Rose City Fiber Festival, one of the vendors is this company.
Tribute Ink.
Yes, Kiviot Inc. or Arctic Indulgence Boutique. Tanis Simpson is the owner and manager. She has a business in Nisku, Alberta. And I bought this from her shop the last time I was there. This is seal. made into an oot pick, which is a traditional design. It's so cute.
A little
I'm
owl?
hoping a little oot pick owl. I'm hoping that Tanis has some of these at her booth, and I'm so looking forward to seeing her. She also hand combs uh, skins of kiviot, of muskox, and pulls them down out of the hides and spins it and processes it in her shop in Nisku. We have a YouTube video on that if you're interested in knowing more about the process that goes along with it.
Yeah, I'm making a note to myself right now to add the link to the mill tour that we did for Kiviut
Yeah.
Inc. Into the show notes. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Barb, for sharing that. That's lovely, and it's nice. Tanis will also tell you which artist made everything that's in her shop, and I think it's really nice to be able to support Indigenous artists, as
This
well
one,
as have something that is completely, unique and creative.
this one was made by Jean Ekpakok
Really
from
nice.
from Uluk-Huk-Tok, Northwest Territories.
Excellent. You'll forgive us, Jean, if we've mispronounced your last name or the name
Yes.
of the community that you live in. Sometimes it takes a bit of getting used to the way those syllables roll off the tongue. We really appreciate your artistry. And we appreciate your artistry, friends. We would love to have you talk to us in the comments about things that you're working on. It is National Crochet Month, so if you'd like to comment on if you are working on a crochet project, what it is, and put a link into the design if you can. We really love to be able to click on those links and see the designer that you're recommending. For crochet patterns especially, friends, it's hard to find sometimes it can be challenging to find really good crochet patterns. So if you have some that you'd like to recommend, definitely put them in the chat, name the designer, and put a link to their page if you can. We'd love to see that. We love, love, love to see your comments in the chat. It makes our day, and we try to respond to every one of them in a timely manner. Forgive us if we're a few weeks late in responding, but we will respond to you eventually. Have a great month, everyone, and we'll see you back here again on April 7th with podcast 88. All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, Barb, we are here today with some old friends. Not old in the old way, but old as in,
No,
we've been friends for a while.
a long time.
We're here with Sarah Ross and Maria Lougheed, and they are the organizers behind the Rose City Fibre Festival. And it's been delightful to reacquaint ourselves with both of them. Sarah is someone that we've shopped from before. She has these lovely bags. And Sarah, I use mine every day. It goes into my backpack, and everywhere I go, my bag goes with me. Uh, it's even went to Hawaii with me just recently,
Oh,
and
wow.
so everywhere I go, I've got my little bag with me. It's just the most it's the best shopping bag. So I want to tell everybody out there, if you're going to the Rose City Fibre Festival, which you should, you definitely have to look for Sarah and her bags. And then Maria is also an old friend of ours, in that comfortable kind of sense, because Maria used to come out with her friend Lynn on our Wool, Wine, and Wheels excursion every year. And we haven't been doing that for a while. And of course, Lynn's moved, right? Uh,
Yes.
Maria, it's so lovely to have you here with us today. Well, we're going to talk about your event coming up. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit about the Rose City Fibre Festival. How did it all begin?
Well, I've always had a passion for fiber and yarn, and did my master knitters program. I finished that. I did the designing and got that certificate. Then I went on to Olds College, got my master's spinners, and it was always kind of an idea that I had this dream of having a little shop with where people could come to share knitting, to spend time knitting, crochet, even do some of the other fiber arts that are out there. But it just isn't viable. So then it just kind of got put on the back burner. And then once I came to Camrose, I found a new knitting group, and that's when I met Sarah. We kind of were tossing ideas back and forth, and then finally we thought, well, maybe we'll put something together, and that's out of that grew then the Rose City Fiber Festival.
Nice. Great. Yeah. And when was that?
That was before COVID. We actually had everything set up. We were going to go, and then COVID hit there in March, and I thought, oh well, 6 weeks, it'll be over. But by the time May comes around, but we ended up having to refund all the vendors their registration fee, and everything was shut down. So we had to just put everything on the back burner until COVID was over, and that took a couple of years. And in the meantime, well, the venue we did have couldn't have us anymore, so then we had to look for another spot, and that's how we ended up at the Camrose Regional Exhibition Grounds.
And we connected with Leanne from Twisted Sisters. She's an alpaca farmer, and she knew that we were trying to do this, and she was keen for us to partner with the Alpaca Association, because they have an annual spring show in Camrose at the CRE every year. And so we talked to the venue, and they were excited. Leanne was excited. So we got together, and now we are intimately connected with the Alpaca Association and the Alpaca show that's on at the same time. So, you know, we've got the alpaca as a draw in the main arena, and then just across the foyer, you've got us and our wonderful vendors, and we've got workshops in one of the other rooms, and so we fill the place between alpaca and fiber. It's just fabulous.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that, and I have to tell you, I've got tingles. Because when you mentioned alpaca, that's one of my favorite animals. Oh my gosh.
So you can come and visit the alpaca. They're right there in the barns, and it's nice for the alpaca farmers to see how passionate people are about the fiber, because they'll come into the vendor show and their minds are quite blown.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's enough to do there for the entire day.
Oh, right? Absolutely. Yes, definitely. Yep.
Great. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the logistics. How do people get out to Camrose? How do they find the event? How do they park? All of that. Find food.
Well, we're on the east side of town. So from Edmonton, you would normally come in on Highway 13. So you'll have to come all the way through the town. And the CRE is right there. It's just past the casino. There is tons of parking because the venue is used for the Big Valley Jamboree every August. So tons of free parking.
Perfect. Okay. So what time and what date?
The 6th of April, and it starts at 10 and goes till 4.
Nice. Okay.
So it's a Saturday.
Saturday. Okay. And is there any admission, registration, anything like that? We can just come on out and...
Yeah, you can come on out. The one thing that we're doing, we're trying to keep things local. So our entrance fee is a food donation to the Camrose Food Bank, or $2 if you don't bring a tin of beans or a box of craft dinner with you. Then pay $2, and we will be giving that to the food bank. We gave them 13 boxes of foodstuffs and $870 last year from last year's event.
Great. So if possible, give 2+. Right? You could throw a 5 in there if you want.
Just saying $2 or a food bank donation, but clearly people were far more generous last year.
Okay. Are there any tips for people coming out? Do you want them to show up early and line up? How many vendors are going to be there?
We have 47 vendors. There is one vendor, and she'll actually be outside in her van. It's under the Elm Yarnery. She always operates out of her van and out of her trailer. So she's right outside the main doors. So she will get the first option for
shopping.
For shopping. And then you'll just come in. There's plenty of space in the foyer for lining up. We'll be open at 10 o'clock. We have to give the vendors time to set up and everything. Right. And I'm not quite sure when the alpaca farmers get there. They're probably going to get there even earlier. So
yeah, they're usually in there quite early because they have to feed the animals in the morning and get them all set.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the day that it's open to the public.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so the alpaca event's going to happen around the same time. There's going to be a lot of people coming out to the exhibition center. Who can we expect for vendors, and is there a theme? Is it just yarn?
No. We have our 47 vendors are everything from obviously the yarn dyers, but also we've got people with raw fleece. We've got weavers. We've got a couple of weavers this year. We've got a couple of potters with their pottery and stuff like that. And Gary from Weasel Works is back doing markets again this year. He had to, it was unfortunate, but he's back doing markets. So he'll be with us this year.
Remind me again, he does
all the woodworking.
Woodworking, yes.
Yeah. And then we've got, a couple of felters. So one is doing beautiful felted garments. Another one is doing felted landscape pictures. And another one's doing little felted animals. So we got 3 different felters, 2 different weavers, 2 different potters. I think there's 5 bag makers. We've got Ginger Snap That is coming back again this year. They had so much fun last year. And Numana Yarns from Edmonton is coming. Over the Moon is coming back. She used to live in Camrose, so we've known her for a lot of years.
Didn't we get somebody with embroidery?
Yes, I forgot about that. Nest Embroidery, and that's taken me a while to get used to saying embroidery instead of embroidery. But yes, she's coming with her kits. And Kiviat is coming back from Nisku. That's so exciting. We're always happy to see her and her gorgeous fluff.
Yes. Great. So you've got a real great variety of people coming out. Last year,
the purpose is to make sure that it's not just wool and yarn, but that there's a variety of stuff, because the textile industry is not just superwash yarn, but people like different types of textiles and get that out there.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you guys, are all the vendors coming from the province of Alberta, or do you have anybody coming interprovincially?
Yeah, we've got one or two coming from BC, and we've got 2 coming from Saskatchewan. We've got Imagine Yarn, and I've forgotten who the other one is coming from Saskatchewan. I can't remember. That's just. We have a few local Camrosian vendors as well, which is nice to support the community.
Nice. And you mentioned too that there's a local food truck?
No. We used a food truck last year, but
that wasn't a good idea. That didn't work quite well the way we thought so. So this year we went back to the bakery that we wanted to have last year,
first choice.
But because of Easter last year falling on the same weekend, we couldn't get her. So this year we're really happy to announce that she is coming. And Sarah, do you want to tell her about what all the wonderful things that are going to come?
So it's Patricia's Kitchen / Twists and More Bakery. She opened up a bakery a few years ago, and she's just expanding and expanding and expanding. So she's expanded to local food. So everything she makes is from scratch. She is bringing breakfast sandwiches, both with meat and without meat. She is bringing vegetarian chili on a bun, pulled pork on a bun. She's bringing coleslaw, beef and cheese sandwiches, ham and cheese sandwiches, egg salad sandwiches. She's going to have bags of vegetables. And of course, her cinnamon buns. You can't leave Camrose without one of her cinnamon buns. Cookies, puff wheat squares.
But there's one thing we do need to let people know is that it's cash only. So make sure you have some cash on you so that you can enjoy these wonderful.
But there is an ATM machine on site, and we've been promised that it will be filled and operating.
You guys, you've thought of everything. This is great. I'm really excited.
There'll also be, so that she didn't have to deal with teas and coffees and things like that, we're going to have a table that will be on an honor basis, but we'll have a machine with hot and cold water, and you'll be able to help yourself to teas and coffees, and there'll just be a little honor box there.
Nice. That's great. Okay, well, Cynthia,
Yeah,
I think we got to put this on our calendar.
we do. I think we should go out for the day. It's not that far of a drive. And I was just thinking, even here in the city of Edmonton, I've started to use my Google Maps just to get across the city. So I'll definitely just put in Camrose Regional Exhibition Center into my Google Maps, and it'll take me right there. No problem.
Exactly. That's right. And free parking and essentially free admission. I mean,
well, $2
donating the food bank.
or a bag of a can of beans or a bag of pasta or something, whatever.
Yeah.
I think, Sarah, you said that you would have a list of recommended items. Is that right? To bring for the food bank?
Yeah. If you can follow us on Instagram, I will slowly be putting out the menu from Patricia's Kitchen. And I'll also be doing the food bank items, what they want. We'll also have places to stay in Camrose if you plan to make a day of it. I'm not sure, but I think Crystal from the Yarn Rebels is looking to do a pajama party either on the Friday night before or the Saturday. I'm not sure which she's going to do. She's been helping us a lot with our social media and helping us just stay on track with things.
Great. So let's chat about that. How can people find you on social media?
So we're Rose City Fibre Fest on Instagram, Rose City Fibre Fest on Facebook. Don't go to the Facebook page that says Rose City all one word and Fibre Fest all one word. We actually have an event page that is Rose City Fibre Fest. I made a mistake setting up my Facebook page and I can't seem to get rid of it.
And fiber is spelt
Fibre. It's not American fiber. It's Canadian.
Okay. Good. And so the same handle on Facebook?
Yeah.
And then what about classes? If someone wants to get a hold of you, because I've heard you've got an incredible lineup, I'm hoping you'll tell us a bit about that, but how do we get a hold of you for a class?
Okay. We've got a link on our Instagram page bio, which can take you directly to the registration form. And on the registration form, we've got links to each of the 9 workshops that we've got lined up.
Let's take a look at that together. There we go. Okay. So you're seeing my Instagram page, and what I've done is just done a little search for you. Now, because I follow Rose City Fibre Fest, it's really easy to find you. And here's just some of the posts that you put up recently. So if we were to click on one of these posts, or if
just
we
go to the link, go to that link.
Okay.
And then there's a link to the workshop registration. There's a link to the email sign up.
Okay. And so folks can use either one of these.
Yeah, they can email us if they don't have Instagram. They can email us and we can send them the link to the registration form.
Okay. we're gonna give that email address in just a second here, but if I click on this link, oh, look at this.
Wow.
Here are all the
I've
work.
been,
Can we go through these, Cynthia?
yeah,
Let's take a quick minute because right now none of these classes is full, right? It's
no, they're not full at the moment.
we couldn't set up one. So, introduction to wool yarn hooking. Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't that
Okay.
look great?
So that's from 10 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's a morning one, yeah.
These are all morning classes, correct?
The top 3 are morning, and then the bottom 6 are afternoon.
Make
A bird feeder?
Yeah, we've got a basket weaving classes. And yes, we've got a Métis beading instructor.
That's so cool. And then in the
We're
afternoon,
so excited for Joelle, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the natural dye and rust printed. I was,
That looks interesting.
that one just looks so fabulous. She's going to bring all the rusty bits and the silk scarves, and how cool is that one?
that's so
Wow.
cool.
We haven't got a picture for this one yet. We're waiting for Arlene to send us a picture, but it's for sashiko, which is a Japanese embroidery technique that's usually white stitching on a blue background.
Oh, it's
Yes,
so cool.
I have all the supplies and I don't have the skill. So I think I need to take that one.
That's the second class from our basket weaver, making the little reindeer, which is just so cute.
Adorable. And an introduction to needle felting. Oh,
Yeah.
Look at that.
You know, beautiful landscape. Isn't that gorgeous?
yes.
Elaine Grandin.
Yeah. Slow stitch postcard.
This is an instructor from Edmonton.
No, she's from Camrose.
Pamela?
Isn't it?
No, this is Pamela.
Oh, sorry, I got it mixed up with somebody else.
Yes. Yeah, this is Pamela from Edmonton.
So she's stitching on a card?
We're not entirely sure. So, but it's using scraps and lace and embroidery, and
Wow.
it looks like fun.
That looks like a riot. I bet you my grandkids would love that too.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then the hard hanger embroidery, these are local Camrose ladies. This is a Norwegian community here in Camrose, and hard hanger is a Norwegian embroidery technique.
So you can pick one morning class and one afternoon class.
Yes, and there's a half-hour gap between them if you want to go shopping.
Okay. And then you're just going to fill in the form here on Instagram.
Yeah, and then you just indicate which class or classes you want.
Right.
And there's instructions on how to pay, because we'll need payment in order to confirm the registration. That's something. Obviously, if the class doesn't go ahead, we'll refund all the money. So so we've got lots of spaces for different kinds of workshops.
Yeah, I think all these classes are going to go ahead, Sarah and Maria.
It was our intention not to have just ordinary classes, beginner knitters, there's so many yarn stores that are doing those kind of classes that we wanted something
outside the box.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, and you ladies both have boxes that expand all of these different fiber interests. So, you can just tell that you've put a lot of thought and care into choosing these workshops. They're so exciting.
Yeah, we had to turn a few away, which was unfortunate, but hopefully, they'll apply again next year.
Right. Are the classes happening at the regional exhibition center as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have classroom space for them?
We don't really have classroom space for them, but what we have, we can close one section off with one of those movable walls, and then it'll be divided up with curtains.
Yeah, so we had feedback last year because we only had curtained off space between the vendor market and the workshops, and the feedback was there was too much noise from the vendor show. So we're actually sectioning off a room. There's 3 rooms on one side of the CRE, and then the barns where the alpaca will be on the other side. So we can actually section off one of the rooms, and then it'll be curtained off spaces.
Oh, that's perfect. And then if people don't have Instagram, I mean, I think we're living kind of in an Instagram world, but if someone didn't have Instagram and they wanted to register for the classes, they could email you, is that correct?
Yes, they can email us at rosecityfibrefest@gmail.com.
Perfect.
You know, I was going to ask you guys, you personally, you're knitters, you're crocheters, you're makers. Did you make the items that you're wearing today?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about them? Maria, can you start?
Oh, yeah. I was at the Blackbird yarn shop, and they had this cowl, and I thought, oh, that looks really cute. So then I bought the yarn there. Unfortunately, it's been so long that I've forgotten what the brand was, but it was definitely at the Blackbird in Leduc. And so then I knit this little cowl, which kind of serves a kind of like a necklace or a decoration on with a sweater or top. Yeah.
Really pretty lacy pattern too.
Yeah, yeah. I like something where I have to keep my mind busy, because if it's just straight knitting, it just takes too long. But this keeps you interested and on task. And it's not too big of a project, so it can be done fairly quickly.
Yeah, and Blackbird's going to be at the festival,
Yes,
correct?
they are.
Yes,
Blackbird
yes.
is coming.
Yeah.
So,
She
so
came
maybe
last year as well. So
maybe she'll have some of those kits. Lovely. And Sarah, what about you? What are you
this is the Daft Days cardigan that I got off of Ravelry, the pattern, and as soon as I saw it, I found a way to use up just a ton of mini skeins.
Wow.
Use up a ton of mini skeins. And actually, I got mini skeins in here from Over the Moon, who's going to come with us, and Rose Hill Yarns in Kalmar. They're coming this year. And yes, I had mini skeins in here from Fireweed Fibre Company. They're based in Manitoba. So it was just a lovely pattern, and it's just actually using a slip stitch. Every time you change colors, you just use a slip stitch, but it made it look so interesting.
So interesting. And tell us about those buttons.
Buttons just came out of my stash, and I had so many button choices for this, right? I could have gone with any color. And these are actually all the same button. I don't know whether you can see it there, but they're all the same button, but in different colors that I just blended in the rainbow color.
Just gorgeous. You know, buttons are really hard to find. I'm hoping that you're going to be selling some of those at your booth this year.
Well, no, my stash. It's mine.
Love it. Wow.
Yeah, I just did not know what to do for buttons. I was spoilt for choice. I could have gone with just thing, but I thought, no, just do something funky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're beautiful. Thank you.
Lovely. And for those of you who are watching our podcast and you aren't in the local area and you're not able to come, Barb and I will try to get out and take some photos and maybe a bit of video. And if not, Sarah and Maria, we're going to ask you for some photos and video post-event, just so that we can show everyone how much fun they missed.
Yeah, we definitely will be doing that this year. That's why I'm just going to be walking around and I can do that, because we forgot about that last year. It was just a little overwhelming.
We totally forgot to take photos.
So.
Yeah, that's great. And so you'll let everyone know what they're missing so that they can come next year, because you're going to do this every year, right?
Well, that's kind of the plan. Yeah.
As long as we stay good and healthy, and the alpaca show goes on at the same time. Yeah. So our date is always conditional on when the alpaca show is going to be, because we are intrinsically linked now.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for sharing your time with us today.
Oh, and thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
That's great to reconnect, and I hope we'll see you both on
I hope
April
so.
the
Yeah.
6th. I'm going to have to
Looking
come.
forward to it.
Sorry, say that again, Maria.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing you as well, and maybe coming by and getting another bag because they're so great, Sarah.
Oh, I've got new styles now coming out. I'm working on.
All right, take care, and thank you again for the lovely chat today.
Okay,
We'll talk to you
bye.
soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.